The warning came through official channels, stamped with the crimson seal of the Galactic Council's highest authority. Commander Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display floating above her desk, reading the same words for the third time. The message was clear. Under no circumstances should any sentient being attempt to establish contact with the planet designated as Terra 7749, commonly known among spacers as the Graveyard. Sarah's fingers drummed against the metal surface of her workstation aboard the exploration vessel Horizon's Edge. 23 years she had served in the Galactic Fleet, mapping unknown systems and making first contact with new civilizations. In all that time, she had never encountered a world that carried such a dire warning from the Council itself. The briefing materials painted a grim picture. Terra 7749 sat in the outer rim of the Kepler sector, a blue-green world that appeared perfectly habitable from orbital scans, yet every expedition sent to the planet had vanished without a trace. The first team, a group of seasoned Zephyrian explorers, had simply stopped transmitting after landing. The second expedition, this time a joint venture between the reptilian Saurakis and the crystalline Vorthon, had managed to send one final message. The predators here. They're not like anything we've cataloged. They think, they plan, they hunt in ways that defy all biological logic. The third and final expedition had been the largest yet. 50 of the galaxy's finest xenobiologists, protected by military escorts and equipped with the most advanced defensive technology available, they had lasted exactly 72 hours before their signals went dark. The orbital surveillance satellites detected something that made the Council declare the world forbidden. Massive fires burning across the continents, and shadowy figures moving between them with purpose and coordination that spoke of intelligence. Sarah pushed back from her desk and walked to the observation deck. Through the reinforced viewing ports, she could see the swirling hyperspace tunnel that carried her ship toward the Kepler sector. She wasn't heading to Terra 7749, of course. Her mission was to establish a research station on the neighboring world of Kepler Prime, a routine assignment that should have felt like a vacation after her recent adventures in the Andromeda Spiral. But Sarah Chen had never been one to follow the safe path. Growing up on the mining colony of New Proxima, she had learned early that the universe rewarded those bold enough to take risks. Her parents had been asteroid miners, brave souls who ventured into uncharted space to extract rare minerals from the hearts of dead worlds. They had taught her that sometimes the greatest dangers held the greatest rewards. The ship's AI chimed softly in her quarters. "Commander Chen, we will be dropping out of hyperspace in 6 hours. All preparations for the Kepler Prime mission are complete." "Thank you, Arya," Sarah replied, still staring out at the cosmic maelstrom beyond the windows. "Display all available data on Terra 7749. Commander, that world is classified as forbidden by Council decree. Are you certain you wish to access this information?" "I'm certain." The holographic display materialized around her, transforming her quarters into a three-dimensional map of the Terra 7749 system. The planet hung before her like a jewel, its surface marked with vast continents and deep blue oceans. It looked so peaceful, so inviting. Sarah reached out and touched the projection, causing it to rotate slowly. "What makes you so special?" she whispered to the image. "What's down there that scares the entire Galactic Council?" The data streams flowed around her, showing atmospheric readings, gravitational measurements, and energy signatures. Everything about Terra 7749 suggested it should be a paradise world, perfectly suited for colonization. The oxygen levels were ideal, the gravity was within acceptable parameters for most galactic species, and the climate appeared temperate across most of the land masses. Yet hidden within the technical specifications were details that made Sarah's blood run cold. The planet's ecosystem showed signs of impossible complexity. Species that should have been prey showed predatory adaptations. Plants that should have been passive contained defensive mechanisms more sophisticated than military hardware. And most disturbing of all, the entire biosphere seemed to respond to outside threats as a single, coordinated organism. Sarah's communicator buzzed. Her first officer, Lieutenant Commander Vexhai, was requesting permission to speak with her. The Altarian's blue-scaled face appeared in the hologram, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he spoke. "Commander, I've noticed you've been accessing restricted files on the Forbidden World. With respect, I must advise against any deviation from our current mission parameters." "Noted. Vex, but tell me, In all your years of service, have you ever encountered a world that defeated 3 separate expeditions without revealing what actually happened to them? Vexhi's mandibles clicked nervously. No, Commander. But perhaps that is precisely why the Council has forbidden further contact. Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. After ending the conversation, Sarah continued her research late into the ship's night cycle. She pulled up personnel files on the missing expeditions, studying their qualifications and equipment loadouts. These hadn't been amateur explorers or unprepared colonists. They had been the elite, the best and brightest the galaxy had to offer. The Zephyrians were master hunters, evolved from pack predators on a harsh desert world. Their senses could detect a heartbeat from a kilometer away, and their reflexes were fast enough to dodge energy weapons. The Sorokis possessed natural armor plating and healing abilities that made them nearly indestructible in conventional combat. The Vorthan could manipulate matter at the molecular level and communicate telepathically across vast distances, yet something on Terra 7749 had not only defeated them but had done so without leaving any clear evidence of what had transpired. The orbital scans showed the crash sites of their vessels, but no bodies, no wreckage that indicated a specific cause of destruction. It was as if the planet itself had simply swallowed them whole. As the Horizon's Edge prepared to drop out of hyperspace, Sarah made her decision. She would complete her mission on Kepler Prime as ordered, but she would also position her ship for a closer look at the Forbidden World. She owed it to the missing explorers to at least try to understand what had happened to them. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but humanity had not reached the stars by avoiding risks. If there was something on Terra 7749 that posed a threat to galactic civilization, then someone needed to understand it. And if that something had been responsible for the disappearance of so many brave souls, then someone needed to make it answer for those crimes. Sarah Chen had always believed that the greatest discoveries lay just beyond the edge of the known and safe. Tomorrow she would find out if that belief would be her triumph or her doom. The unauthorized course change happened during the 3rd sleep cycle, when most of the crew was in deep rest. Sarah had spent weeks studying the ship's automated systems, learning which adjustments could be made without triggering immediate alerts. The Horizon's Edge was now on a trajectory that would take them past Terra 7749 before reaching Kepler Prime, a detour that would add only 18 hours to their journey, but would allow for detailed long-range scans of the Forbidden World. Sarah stood in the navigation chamber, watching as the planet grew larger on the main display. Even from this distance, she could see the swirling cloud formations and the distinctive continental shapes that had been documented in the expedition reports. But there was something else, something the previous surveys had missed. Arya, enhance the surface scan and focus on the northern continent, she commanded. The image sharpened, revealing details that made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. Scattered across the landmass were geometric patterns that could not be natural. Straight lines cut through forests. Perfect circles marked clearings, and what appeared to be terraced structures climbed the sides of mountains. These weren't the random scars left by geological processes or natural disasters. These were signs of intelligence, of planning, of civilization. Commander. Arya's voice carried a note of concern that the AI rarely displayed. I am detecting multiple energy signatures from the planet's surface. The patterns suggest technological activity far beyond what was reported in previous surveys. Sarah leaned closer to the display, her heart racing. What kind of technological activity? The energy readings are consistent with industrial processes, communication networks, and what appears to be sophisticated defensive systems. Commander, if these readings are accurate, then Terra 7749 is not a primitive death world. It is home to an advanced civilization. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. If Arya was right, then the Galactic Council hadn't declared Terra 7749 forbidden because it was dangerous. They had done so because they were hiding something. The missing expeditions hadn't been destroyed by savage beasts or natural hazards. They had encountered an intelligent species, and someone had decided that knowledge was too dangerous to share. Sarah's hands flew over the control interface, initiating deeper scans and recording everything the ship's sensors could detect. She needed proof, evidence that would force the Council to explain their deception. But as she worked, another realization began to form in her mind. The geometric patterns on the surface, the organized defensive positions, the coordinated response to orbital observation. It all suggested that whoever lived on Terra 7749 had been watching the galaxy as much as the galaxy had been watching them. A proximity alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Sarah spun toward the tactical display, expecting to see an asteroid field or debris cloud. Instead, she found herself staring at three objects rising from Terra 7749's atmosphere, moving with purpose and speed that defied conventional propulsion systems. All hands to battle stations. Sarah barked into the ship's communication system, unknown contacts approaching from planetary surface. The bridge crew arrived within minutes, their faces showing mixtures of confusion and concern. HFY took his position at the tactical station, his scaled hands dancing across the controls as he analyzed the approaching objects. "Commander, these are not natural phenomena," he reported. "I'm reading artificial construction, advanced materials, and energy signatures that don't match any known technology in our databases." The objects were beautiful in their alien design, sleek vessels that seemed to flow rather than fly through space. They approached the horizon's edge with careful precision, maintaining formation but making no overtly hostile moves. As they drew closer, Sarah could see details that made her scientific mind race with possibilities. The hulls appeared to be grown rather than built, with organic curves and surfaces that shifted and adapted as she watched. "Open communication channels," Sarah ordered. "All frequencies, all protocols." For several tense minutes there was only static. Then gradually a signal began to emerge from the interference. It wasn't the harsh digital communication of most galactic species. Instead, it carried musical qualities, rising and falling tones that suggested emotion and intent even without translation. The translation matrix struggled with the alien language, but slowly words began to form in the air above the communications console. "Visitors from beyond, we greet you with caution. Your people have come before." They did not leave peacefully. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the exploration vessel Horizon's Edge. We come in peace, seeking to understand what happened to our people." The response came more quickly this time, and Sarah could hear something that sounded almost like amusement in the alien tones. "Your people came with weapons, with machines that poisoned our soil, with diseases that killed our children. They said they came in peace as well." The pieces of the puzzle suddenly clicked into place in Sarah's mind. The missing expeditions hadn't been destroyed by mindless predators. They had been stopped by a species defending their world from what they perceived as invasion. The geometric patterns on the surface weren't signs of primitive civilization. They were the remnants of battles, defensive positions built to protect against repeated incursions from space. "I'm not here to invade," Sarah said carefully. "I'm here to learn the truth about what happened. The people of my galaxy believe your world is empty, dangerous. They don't know about your civilization." "They know," came the reply, and now the alien voice carried clear notes of anger. "Your Council of Many Worlds knows. They have known since the first ship fell to our defenses. They continue to send expeditions because they want what lies beneath our soil." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "What lies beneath your soil?" The alien ships had moved into closer formation around the horizon's edge, not threatening but clearly ready to act if necessary. "The same elements that power your great ships, that fuel your cities, that make your weapons, but here they sing with life. Here they are part of the world's soul that makes all things grow. Living crystals." Sarah had heard rumors of such things, theoretical power sources that could revolutionize galactic civilization. If Terra 7749 contained deposits of living crystal, then the Galactic Council's secrecy made perfect sense. They weren't trying to protect other species from a dangerous world. They were trying to keep a priceless resource hidden while they found a way to claim it. "My people don't know about the living crystals," Sarah said. "They think you're monsters who killed our explorers. They've been lied to, just as you've been invaded without understanding." There was a long pause, and Sarah could almost feel the alien minds considering her words. When the response came, it carried a different tone, one that spoke of hope struggling against bitter experience. "You speak of lies and misunderstanding, but your ship carries weapons. Your crew prepares for battle even as you speak of peace. How do we know you are different from those who came before?" Sarah made a decision that would have horrified the Galactic Fleet Command. "You can board our ship," she said. "See for yourself that we're explorers, not conquerors. Let us prove that not all of our people are enemies." The bridge crew stared at her in shock, but The beings who boarded the horizon's edge were unlike anything in the galactic databases. They moved with fluid grace, their forms seeming to shift between solid matter and something closer to living energy. Each stood roughly human height, but their bodies appeared to be composed of the same organic material as their ships, surfaces that rippled and adapted to their surroundings. Sarah met them in the main cargo bay, having ordered all weapons secured and her crew to maintain respectful distances. The lead being approached her with movements that suggested both caution and curiosity. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in the air rather than coming from any visible mouth. "I am Keeper of Deep Memories," the being said, its form pulsing with soft blue light. "I have lived through 7 visits from your kind. Each time they promised peace. Each time, they brought only death and extraction." Sarah bowed slightly, a gesture of respect she hoped would translate across species barriers. "I am Sarah Chen. I speak only for myself and my crew, not for those who came before. Will you show me what really happened?" The being's form shifted, taking on deeper blue hues that Sarah somehow understood indicated sadness. "Come, we will show you the memories themselves." What followed was unlike any communication method Sarah had ever experienced. The keeper reached out with what might have been a hand, touching Sarah's forehead with fingers that felt like warm water. Suddenly, images flooded her mind, not as recordings but as lived experiences, memories borrowed from alien consciousness. She saw the first expedition through the eyes of Terra 7749's inhabitants. The Zephyrian exploration team had indeed landed peacefully, but within hours they had begun taking soil samples that contained living crystal formations. To the planet's natives, this was equivalent to harvesting organs from living beings. When they tried to communicate their distress, the Zephyrians had interpreted their approach as an attack and opened fire with energy weapons. The battle that followed was brief, but devastating. The planet's defenders had been forced to use their most powerful abilities, literally reshaping the landscape to trap the invaders. The Zephyrians hadn't been killed out of malice, but in desperate self-defense by a people trying to protect their world soul from being murdered one piece at a time. The second expedition had gone differently, but ended the same way. The Saurokis and Vorthon team had brought more sophisticated equipment and had managed to extract several tons of living crystal before the planet's defenders could stop them. The stolen crystals had screamed as they died, their pain echoing through the world soul and driving the native population to acts of vengeance that they still regretted. By the time the third expedition arrived, Terra 7749's people had prepared for war. They had studied the wreckage of the previous ships, learned about galactic technology, and developed countermeasures. The 50-member team hadn't stood a chance against defenders who could manipulate matter at the molecular level and who fought with the desperate fury of parents protecting their children. Sarah experienced every moment of those conflicts, felt the fear and rage and grief of a people who watched strangers murder their world piece by piece. When the visions ended, she found herself on her knees in the cargo bay, tears streaming down her face. "They didn't know," she whispered. "None of them understood what they were doing." "Your council knew," the keeper replied, its form now pulsing with angry red light. "After the first expedition, they sent probe ships. They analyzed our defenses, our capabilities, our weaknesses. They knew we were intelligent. They knew we were defending ourselves. They sent more expeditions anyway." Sarah struggled to her feet, her mind reeling from the implications. The Galactic Council hadn't just hidden the existence of an intelligent species. They had deliberately sent explorers to their deaths in repeated attempts to steal irreplaceable resources from a living world. "What about the survivors?" Sarah asked. "Our records show that some people from each expedition managed to escape the planet." The keeper's form rippled with what Sarah now recognized as bitter amusement. "Escape? No, Commander Chen, we sent them home. We sent them back to your council with messages, with pleas for understanding, with offers of peaceful trade. They were silenced before they could speak the truth." The implication struck Sarah like a physical blow. The council hadn't just been hiding Terra 7749's true nature. They had been actively suppressing witnesses, people who could have prevented the tragedy of repeated failed expeditions. How many lives had been sacrificed to maintain the lie? "Why are you telling me this?" Sarah asked. "Why trust me when my own people have proven themselves unworthy of that trust?" The keeper moved closer, its form brightening to a warm golden hue. "Because you offered something no other human has offered. You gave us your trust first without knowing if we would honor it. That speaks to a different kind of courage. Over the next several hours, the beings from Terra 7749 shared more than just painful memories. They showed Sarah wonders beyond imagination. The living crystals weren't just power sources. They were components of a vast biological network that connected every living thing on the planet. The geometric patterns visible from orbit weren't scars from battle, but rather growth patterns, places where the world soul had consciously shaped the landscape to create perfect harmony between technology and nature. The civilization that had evolved on Terra 7749 had solved problems that plagued the galaxy. They had eliminated poverty, disease, and environmental destruction by learning to work with their world rather than against it. They had developed technologies that could heal planets ravaged by industrial exploitation, techniques that could restore ecosystems thought lost forever. This knowledge could transform the galaxy, Sarah said as she toured their ship, marveling at walls that grew and adapted to their occupants' needs. Why haven't you shared it with other worlds? We tried, the keeper replied sadly. Before your people arrived, we sent ambassadors to nearby systems. Some were welcomed. Others were enslaved. Most were dissected by scientists who wanted to understand how our bodies interface with living crystal. We learned that the galaxy is not ready for what we offer. As Sarah's visit continued, she began to understand the true scope of the tragedy. Terra 7749's people possessed technologies that could solve the energy crisis, heal dying worlds, and usher in a golden age of prosperity for all galactic civilizations. But fear, greed, and the Council's deliberate deception had turned potential allies into bitter enemies. The tour ended in a chamber at the heart of the alien ship, where a massive crystal formation pulsed with light that seemed to contain entire galaxies. This was a fragment of the world soul itself, a living computer capable of calculations that dwarfed anything in galactic civilization. This is why they keep coming, the keeper explained. This is why they send expedition after expedition to die on our world. Your council believes that if they can harvest enough living crystal, they can build their own world soul and control the galaxy's energy supply. Sarah stared at the crystal, understanding finally dawning. The Galactic Council wasn't just hiding one world's resources. They were planning to commit genocide on a scale that boggled the mind, destroying an entire living planet to fuel their own ambitions. I have to go back, Sarah said quietly. I have to tell people the truth. They will try to solve. Sarah's return to the horizon's edge marked the beginning of the most dangerous period of her career. As her ship departed Terra 7749's system, she carried with her not only the truth about the forbidden world, but also a gift that would change everything. A small fragment of living crystal, freely given by the Keeper of Deep Memories as proof of their peaceful intentions. The crystal sat in her quarters, pulsing with gentle blue light and occasionally displaying what appeared to be fragments of memory from Terra 7749's world soul. Through it, Sarah could feel the planet's pain every time another piece of itself was torn away, but also its hope that understanding might finally replace violence. Her first challenge came sooner than expected. As the horizon's edge approached the communication relay at the edge of the Kepler sector, Sarah found her ship surrounded by a galactic fleet battle group. 6 heavy cruisers and a dreadnought moved into formation around her exploration vessel, their weapon systems powered but not yet locked on. Commander Chen, came the voice of Admiral Korath over the communication channel. You will prepare for immediate boarding and inspection. Your ship has deviated from approved flight patterns and entered restricted space. Sarah had expected this moment. The Council's surveillance network was too extensive for her unauthorized detour to go unnoticed. But she had used the journey from Terra 7749 to prepare for exactly this confrontation. Admiral Korath, I'm transmitting a priority message to Galactic Fleet Command, Council Central, and every major news network in this sector, Sarah announced calmly. The message contains evidence of Council deception regarding Terra 7749, including recordings of my encounter with the planet's native population. The silence that followed stretched for several tense minutes. Sarah could imagine the frantic communications between the Admiral and his superiors, the emergency conferences being called, the damage control protocols being activated. When Korath's voice returned, it carried a tone of cold authority. Commander Chen, you are hereby relieved of command for violation of direct orders and unauthorized contact with hostile alien forces. Surrender your ship immediately, or we will be forced to disable your vessel. Sarah had known this moment would come, but she had also prepared for it. During her journey back from Terra 7749, she had secretly recorded detailed testimonials from every crew member who had witnessed the encounter. More importantly, she had uploaded copies of all her evidence to automated probe ships that were now dispersed throughout the sector, programmed to transmit their contents to every major news outlet and government facility, if her ship was destroyed or captured. Admiral, I've just transmitted the full records of my encounter to 17 different star systems, Sarah announced. Any action against my ship or crew will only confirm the validity of what I've discovered. The truth about Terra 7749 is already spreading. The standoff continued for hours, with neither side willing to make the first aggressive move. Sarah used the time to continue broadcasting her evidence, sending detailed reports to every contact she had built over her 23 years of service. She reached out to fellow explorers, to scientists who would understand the significance of living crystal technology, to journalists who specialized in exposing government corruption. The breakthrough came when the living crystal in her quarters began to react to the tense situation. It pulsed brighter and began projecting holographic images that her crew couldn't help but notice. Word spread quickly through the ship about the miraculous technology, and several crew members began asking pointed questions about why such wonders had been kept hidden from the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander HFY was the first to openly declare his support for Sarah's actions. "Commander," he announced over the ship's internal communications, "the Altarian Colonial Assembly has issued a statement demanding full disclosure about Terra 7749. They're calling for your testimony before the Galactic Ethics Committee." Other crew members quickly followed suit. Engineer Specialist Torres reported that the Human Colonial Coalition was demanding an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Communications Officer Yuki announced that 3 major news networks had picked up the story and were broadcasting Sarah's evidence across dozens of star systems. The tide was turning, but Sarah knew that the most dangerous phase was just beginning. The Council and their allies would now be forced to act decisively, either to acknowledge their deception or to eliminate the evidence permanently. The answer came in the form of a new transmission from Admiral Korath. "Commander Chen, you will accompany us to Council Station Alpha 7 for debriefing and testimony before the Ethics Committee. Any attempt to deviate from the prescribed flight path will be considered an act of rebellion." Sarah agreed, but she also activated the final phase of her contingency plan. Using the living crystal's unique properties, she established a direct communication link with Terra 7749, allowing the Keeper of Deep Memories to monitor everything that happened during her journey to the Council Station. The voyage to Alpha 7 took 3 days, during which Sarah found herself under virtual house arrest aboard her own ship. Council security officers had boarded the Horizon's Edge and restricted her access to communications equipment, but they couldn't prevent the living crystal from maintaining its connection to Terra 7749. Through that connection, Sarah learned that her revelations had triggered a galaxy-wide crisis. 12 colonial governments had withdrawn their representatives from the council in protest. Major corporations were demanding access to living crystal technology. Several exploration fleets were reportedly changing course toward Terra 7749, hoping to establish independent contact with the planet's inhabitants. But the most significant development was happening on Terra 7749 itself. The planet's population, long isolated by the Council's deception, was finally learning the truth about the galaxy beyond their world. For the first time in their history, they were debating whether to emerge from their isolation and share their knowledge with other civilizations. "Your courage has given our people hope," the Keeper told Sarah through the crystal link. "For generations we believed that all species beyond our world were like those who came to steal from us. You have shown us that there are others who seek understanding rather than conquest." As the Horizon's Edge approached Council Station Alpha 7, Sarah could see the massive structure's defensive systems powering up. The station was preparing for the possibility of armed conflict, and Sarah realized that her testimony might be the spark that ignited a galactic civil war. The living crystal pulsed with warm light, and Sarah felt a wave of strength and determination flow through her. Whatever happened in the coming days, she would not allow the Council's deception to continue. The people of the galaxy deserve to know the truth about Terra 7749, and more importantly, they deserved the chance to build a better future based on cooperation rather than exploitation. As her ship docked with the Council station, Sarah prepared for what might be the most important testimony in galactic history. The stakes couldn't be higher. The future of an entire civilization. The Council chamber on Alpha 7 station was a monument to galactic unity, its circular design accommodating representatives from hundreds of different species. But as Sarah entered the massive hall, she could feel the tension that threatened to tear that unity apart. The chamber was packed beyond capacity with delegates, journalists, and observers from across the galaxy, all waiting to hear her testimony. At the center of the room sat the High Council, 12 beings representing the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Their faces showed varying degrees of hostility, concern, and curiosity as Sarah took her place at the witness podium. In her hand she carried the living crystal, its gentle blue glow clearly visible to everyone in the chamber. High Counselor Vexitharan, an ancient Altarian whose silver scales had dulled with centuries of service, called the session to order. Commander Sarah Chen of the Human Colonial Coalition, you stand accused of violating direct council orders, making unauthorized contact with hostile alien forces, and spreading classified information that threatens galactic security. How do you answer these charges? Sarah stood straighter, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. I answer that I have done my duty as an explorer and as a sentient being. I have uncovered the truth about Terra 7749, and that truth demands to be heard. The chamber erupted in a mixture of support and condemnation. Several delegates rose to their feet, shouting accusations and demands for order. Sarah waited for the chaos to subside, then held up the living crystal. Its light pulsed brighter, and a hush fell over the crowd. This crystal was given to me freely by the people of Terra 7749 as a sign of their desire for peaceful contact, Sarah announced. Through it I can show you the truth about what happened to our missing expeditions, and more importantly, what we've been hiding from the galaxy. High Counselor Zefkalis, a reptilian Soracus whose species had lost members in the second expedition, leaned forward aggressively. You dare to bring a weapon from that cursed world into this sacred chamber? Sarah's response was to place the crystal on the podium and step back. If this is a weapon, then knowledge itself is our enemy. But I believe this chamber was built to handle dangerous truths, not to hide from them. The crystal's light expanded, filling the chamber with a soft blue radiance. Suddenly, everyone present found themselves experiencing Sarah's memories of Terra 7749, seeing through her eyes as the keeper of deep memories shared the planet's history. They felt the world soul's pain as living crystals were ripped from the earth, experienced the desperate fear of a people defending their children from alien invaders, witnessed the technological marvels that could transform galactic civilization. When the visions ended, the chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then Counselor Yithmara of the Crystalline Collective spoke in her harmonic voice. The images we have witnessed, are they accurate representations of events on Terra 7749? They are memories preserved in living crystal, Sarah replied. The beings of Terra 7749 do not lie because their world soul makes deception impossible. Every emotion, every experience is shared among their people. They literally cannot survive as a civilization if they practice falsehood. The implications of this statement rippled through the chamber. Several minor council members began whispering urgently among themselves, while the major powers exchanged meaningful glances. If Terra 7749's people were incapable of deception, then every claim they made about the Council's actions was true. High Counselor Vexitharan raised his hand for silence. Commander Chen, even if we accept the validity of your evidence, you must understand that the stability of galactic civilization requires certain difficult decisions. The resources of Terra 7749 could solve our energy crisis, end poverty on 1,000 worlds, and usher in an age of unprecedented prosperity. At the cost of committing genocide against an entire planet, Sarah replied firmly. The living crystals aren't just power sources. They're the nervous system of a world-spanning consciousness. Harvesting them would literally kill Terra 7749 itself. The chamber erupted again, but this time the voices carried different tones. Where before there had been skepticism and hostility, now there was shock and growing outrage. Representatives from species that had lost members in the expeditions were demanding explanations. Colonial governments were calling for investigations. Environmental groups were crying for justice. Through it all, the living crystal continued to pulse with gentle light, and Sarah could feel the keeper of deep memories monitoring the proceedings from across the galaxy. The people of Terra 7749 were finally seeing the full scope of galactic civilization, understanding for the first time that not everyone beyond their world shared the Council's greed. Order. High Counselor Vex Theron's voice boomed through the chamber. Commander Chen, your allegations are serious, but they remain allegations. Do you have proof that the Council deliberately concealed information about Terra 7749's intelligent population? Sarah had been waiting for this moment. She activated her personal data pad, and the chamber's holographic displays came to life with classified Council documents, internal communications, and recorded conversations. The evidence showed a clear pattern of deception dating back to the first expedition's return. These documents show that Council intelligence identified Terra 7749's native population within weeks of the first contact, Sarah announced. They showed deliberate decisions to classify survivors' testimonies, to suppress reports of alien technology, and to continue sending expeditions despite knowing they would be met with resistance. The most damning piece of evidence was a recorded conversation between High Counselor Zeph Kallis and Admiral Karath, discussing plans to use military force to establish mining operations on Terra 7749 once they had eliminated the native resistance. The recording was less than 6 months. Old Counselor Zeph Kallis rose from his seat, his reptilian features twisted with rage. This recording is fabricated. No such conversation ever took place. The living crystal can verify its authenticity, Sarah replied calmly. Terra 7749's technology can detect deception at the quantum level. Every molecule of this chamber will confirm the truth of what you're hearing. The crystal's light flared brighter, and suddenly every person in the chamber could feel the truth resonating in their minds. The recording was genuine, the documents were real, and the conspiracy reached to the highest levels of galactic government. What followed was unlike anything in the Council's history. Delegates walked out in protest. Colonial representatives demanded the immediate resignation of implicated Council members, and several species threatened to withdraw from the galactic community entirely. The chamber descended into chaos as centuries of carefully maintained political relationships crumbled in the face of revealed truth. But through the chaos, Sarah noticed something else happening. The living crystal was connecting with individuals throughout the chamber, sharing not just memories of Terra 7749's pain, but also visions of its potential. People were seeing what galactic civilization could become if it embraced cooperation over exploitation, if it chose to learn from Terra 7749 rather than conquer it. Ambassador Kethvar of the Andromedian Republic stood up, his voice cutting through the noise. I move for the immediate suspension of all Council members involved in this conspiracy, the establishment of diplomatic contact with Terra 7749, and the creation of an interspecies commission to investigate these crimes. The motion was seconded by representatives from a dozen different governments, and within minutes, Sarah found herself watching the most powerful political body in the galaxy tear itself apart over the truth she had revealed. High Counselor Vex Theron made one final attempt to maintain control. The Council recognizes the serious nature of these allegations, but we must not allow emotion to override reason. The strategic value of Terra 7749's resources cannot be ignored, and the security of the galaxy must remain our primary concern. Sarah stepped forward, the living crystal pulsing brighter in her hand. Security built on lies and genocide isn't security at all. It's tyranny. The people of Terra 7749 have offered to share their knowledge freely, to help us solve our problems without destroying their world. They've offered us a path to a better future, if we have the courage to take it. The crystal projected one final image into the chamber. Terra 7749 as it could be, a shining example of harmony between technology and nature, its people working alongside representatives from dozens of species to heal damaged worlds and build sustainable civilizations. It was a vision of the galaxy's potential, a future that could belong to everyone if they chose cooperation over conquest. As the session dissolved into emergency votes and frantic negotiations, Sarah realized that her mission was far from over. She had exposed the truth about 3 years had passed since Sarah's testimony shattered the Galactic Council, and the galaxy had never been the same. What historians would later call the Terra 7749 revolution had indeed torn apart the old order, but from its ashes had risen something unprecedented, the first truly cooperative galactic civilization in recorded history. Sarah stood on the observation deck of New Harmony Station, watching as ships from dozens of different species arrived for the 3rd annual Cooperative Summit. The station itself was a marvel of combined technologies, its living crystal core provided by Terra 7749, interfacing seamlessly with engineering from across the galaxy. The result was a structure that grew and adapted to its inhabitants' needs while generating enough clean energy to power entire star systems. "Commander Chen," came a familiar harmonic voice behind her. Sarah turned to see the Keeper of Deep Memories approaching, its form now taking on silver and gold hues that indicated contentment and pride. Over the past 3 years, the beings of Terra 7749 had become active participants in galactic affairs, sharing their knowledge freely while learning from the experiences of other civilizations. "Just Sarah, please," she replied with a smile. "I gave up my commission when I decided to become a full-time mediator." The transformation hadn't been easy. The revelation of the Council's deception had triggered armed conflicts on 17 worlds, as various factions fought over whether to embrace the new cooperative model or maintain the old systems of exploitation and dominance. Sarah had spent most of the past 3 years traveling between crisis points, using her unique relationship with Terra 7749 to broker peace agreements and establish new frameworks for interspecies cooperation. The reports from the Outer Rim are encouraging, the Keeper said, its form pulsing with gentle blue light. The Zilithian Coalition has agreed to adopt living crystal technology for their mining operations. They estimate they can restore their damaged worlds within 50 years. This was the true miracle of Terra 7749's gifts. The living crystal technology wasn't just about energy production. It offered solutions to environmental damage, sustainable resource extraction, and even biological healing on a planetary scale. Worlds that had been strip-mined to the point of ecological collapse were now showing signs of recovery as living crystal networks helped restore natural balance. But perhaps the most significant change was cultural. The sharing of Terra 7749's world soul memories had given other species their first glimpse of what true unity could accomplish.